I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that it really seems like this is the end of the rope for Freeland and potentially even Justin Trudeau. Their rhetoric has sent them down a spiral of just spewing mis and disinformation. I'm going to use their own words against them. And people are done with the lies. They're fed up with it. And as well as Freeland, really, just her behavior, the way she's talking, the way she's giving a non-answer to a simple question that you're going to see later in this video, it's just so obvious that she's lost all support, even from Justin Trudeau. That's the good news. The bad news is that we're stuck with them until the next election. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. We're going to start off with a video that I talked about earlier today, or the last video that was uploaded, right? It's about this flooding that happened in Toronto, and Justin Trudeau is using this event, right, this disaster, as a way to say, hey, we need to do more as Canadians to fight climate change. Absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Toronto's infrastructure is shite across the board. I mean, for crying out loud, if there was a award, if there was a trophy for the worst highway infrastructure out of any city in the world, Toronto would be winning that prize. And now we're going to find out that, yeah, hey, Toronto, surrounded by a lake and a river that goes through the city, also doesn't have very good flooding infrastructure. So, yay. But let's use this horrible event where people lost a shit ton of money, billions of dollars of damage, and let's say we need to increase taxes. So we're going to start off the video with that for those that missed it earlier from the last upload. Here you go. Right from Global News: Toronto flooding, a significant event. Need to step up climate change events, says Justin Trudeau.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment off the top to tell everyone who was so significantly impacted by the flooding yesterday that we're thinking of them. Obviously, our thanks go out to all the first responders who stepped up, the city workers who are there, the hydro workers who continue to work to try and reestablish power for those who lost it. It was a significant event, and I want you to know that we're all there to work together to make sure that not just people get supported through this, but that this happens more and more infrequently in the coming years. The reality is, though, that with climate change, there are going to be more extreme weather events. So we need to continue to step up in our fight against climate change. We also need to continue to be making investments in resilient infrastructure that can handle what the future is holding. We know over the past number of years, we've made about a dozen investments in flood resilient infrastructure and various measures from the federal side onto the City of Toronto, and we're going to continue to be there to make sure that people are safe and that infrastructure needs are met long into the future in this great and growing city.
Okay, so it's never really been said what the funds for the carbon tax are going towards, right? Is it going towards technology to fight the weather? Is it going towards improving our infrastructure, making sure that, you know, like a tornado fund, a hurricane fund, flooding funds, forest fire funds? What the hell are we actually contributing to the carbon tax for? And it still, to this day, I have not seen any announcement, any public statement by the government saying this is what we're paying the carbon tax for when there is a disaster. No, the entire rhetoric, from my understanding, has been we need to make these things stop. We need to stop forest fires from happening, stop hurricanes and bad weather from happening. Therefore, we need to pay more taxes. And that's where he's lost a lot of people. So I'm wondering if the carbon tax money that we've been paying into, which again doesn't make sense, because if 8 out of 10 Canadians are getting more than what they pay into it, then the carbon tax would be in a deficit, but that's not the case. So whatever money is somehow left over from this pool of funding, is that going to go towards increasing Toronto's flooding infrastructure? I don't know. We have no idea, but it's kind of disingenuous for Trudeau to say, yeah, we need to help fight climate change more. Dude, Toronto has flooded in the past. It's not set up for this. They have not really improved the infrastructure for this to happen. I mean, look at the highway. There's one highway that goes east and west out of Toronto, and one highway that goes in and out of the town or the city, north and south. Very bizarre, man. Very bizarre. But yeah, Trudeau is weaponizing something to get more money out of people. Go figure. So now we're going to move on to some more interesting news. Speaking of money, by the way, Trudeau outlines details of $30 billion 10-year fund for public transit. Yep. Yeah, he just casually dropped an announcement saying, yeah, we're spending 30 stacks of billions. The Liberals say this will complement the Housing Accelerator Fund by tying housing money into projects that are near public transit. Applications opened Wednesday for 2 streams in the federal government's new $30 billion public transit fund, even though the money won't start flowing for another 2 years. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the 10-year Canada Public Transit Fund has been in the works for months and was in recent federal budget, but more details were provided as Trudeau made a visit to the subway yard in Toronto. We're stepping up with the kind of predictable long-term transit funding that means our partners like the City of Toronto and Mayor Olivia Chow can plan for not just the next couple of years, but for the next decade and beyond. So Trudeau is making sure that when he spends the money that he won't have access to in about 14 months from now, that he's spending it well into the future. Like, here's the next 50-year plan. We've pledged $1 trillion, cajillion dollars, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Like, that just seems to be his mentality. Is just, I don't know. I don't understand how he thinks that spending all of this money is doing anyone any favors. But let me know if you agree that $30 billion over 10 years of upgrading our public transport is a good idea, which there's reason to believe that kind of ties into you will owns nothing and you will be happy. Wonder where that came from. Okay. The only person who's really putting up a fight is Pierre Poilievre, and he's saying no. He's promising to defund the closed supervised consumption sites because for some reason the biggest drug cartel in Canada is the Canadian government. Let's take a look at this.
Canada's first supervised consumption site opened in Vancouver more than 20 years ago. But today, the Conservative leader is vowing to close them if elected. Pierre Poilievre calling the sites drug dens that his government would not fund. CTV's Rachel Aiello is following the story for us. What sparked this summer announcement?
Heather, riding high in the polls, questions about what policies Pierre Poilievre would champion have been swirling for months. Today, we got an answer on how a Conservative government would approach an issue that's divided communities across the country.
The Conservative leader has previously spoken out against what he's called the Liberal government's wacko drug decriminalization policies. But today, Poilievre made his most decisive comments yet, while visiting a park near a supervised injection site that he wants Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to shut down.
I will be closing them. We will close safe injection sites next to schools, playgrounds, anywhere else that they endanger the public and take lives. They are unsafe injection sites. They are drug dens, and we oppose them.
Supervised injection sites are meant to help prevent overdoses, providing addicts access to a safe facility where they can bring their own drugs and access trained staff as well as clean equipment. Canada's first opened in Vancouver in 2003. And in 2011, the Supreme Court ruled that closing it would strip users of their charter rights. Poilievre said Friday that he still believes reasonable restrictions could be imposed to prevent these sites from opening in places where there's community concern. Advocates, though, say there should be a broader conversation.
They are really important access points for treatment, for health to get better.
Today, nearly 40 safe consumption sites are in operation across the country, with more proposed. Addictions Minister Yara Sachs' office told CTV News that federal supervised consumption sites have reversed more than 55,000 overdoses and called Poilievre's pledge flawed. Heather?
You can't combat addiction by being the provider and saying that, well, it's supervised now, so no one's gonna overdose. I mean, why not just tackle the root cause? drugs, right? Why not focus on rehabilitation, which is something that the government doesn't want anyone to do. The Liberal government wants everyone to suck at their teeth. Please, 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 give me the drugs. Please, please, give me the money. Please, please, just a little bit more on all fronts. And people are fed up with it. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you support Poilievre's decision or do you support Trudeau's? Let me know what you guys think. Now we're taking a look at Freeland. Freeland, who is being backstabbed by Justin Trudeau, according to the National Post. When Trudeau says he's got your back, watch for the knife. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland is definitely being played. And you're going to see that here in this video, which I have posted on my extra channel, but I wanted to focus on this and make a full dedicated video to Chrystia Freeland on the main channel because this is so important. This really seems like Chrystia Freeland knows that this is her last interview. Let's take a look.
Taking the question. So following up on the last line of questions, you were with the Prime Minister at events over the weekend. Did you receive assurances from him that you will be staying on as Finance Minister?
Again, the Prime Minister is a very eloquent man and leader, and it's for the Prime Minister to speak for himself. It is true that I had a long conversation with the Prime Minister on Friday. I spent a lot of Saturday with him in Mississauga and Brampton, and I was in Ottawa yesterday at a meeting with him. And I will offer my own perspective. So as I said a minute ago, it really, Canada is so amazing. And I know that Canada and Canadians, we face some big challenges and we have some amazing opportunities. And I just consider it a real privilege every day to do my best to serve Canada and Canadians, to work on projects like this one.
So was that a yes or no as to whether you had received assurances that you will be continuing as Finance Minister?
Again, the Prime Minister is a very eloquent guy, and he is really capable of speaking for himself. I can speak for myself too, though. So let me just add, to serve as minister in a cabinet, you do need the support and confidence of the Prime Minister. That is especially true for the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister.
And this is something that Trudeau has shifted from supporting her to supporting Mark Carney because, well, again, Trudeau is under so much negative press. He's under attack on all fronts. And the only way that Trudeau, in reality, the only way that he can really pull himself out of the hole and the Liberal Party can get more votes, more support, and people going, yay, good job, is if Trudeau steps out of the way. But his ego is blocking him. And so he's thinking that if he shuffles people around, which they did a cabinet shuffle last year, it was massive, broke headlines. People weren't really expecting it, but they weren't surprised when it happened. Seems like that's going to be the case again. And when you look at Chrystia Freeland's demeanor, she doesn't look well, by the way. She looks very tired. She looks exhausted. And her non-answers of the simple question, do you have Trudeau's support? Well, Trudeau can speak for himself. Dude, you spend so much time with Justin Trudeau. You just admitted that you do. You're also Trudeau's right-hand person, right? Persons with a vagina. You can't say right-hand woman. That's offensive, and I don't want to assume her pronouns because, well, we don't really know what they are yet or updated. But nonetheless, you are Trudeau's right-hand individual, right? So you should know if you have his support or not. And all of the rhetoric in the media, it's not an accident. It's not clickbait. It's not whatever. It's true. It's the truth is that Freeland is ruining this country financially. The budgets will balance themselves. The budgets will balance themselves. That rhetoric needs to stop and it needs to end, right? Freeland is not qualified to handle these billions of dollars in which she's mismanaging on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. She has yet to prove that she can actually do the job. Now, Mark Carney is more qualified as per his resume, right? Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor. Those things are looking pretty good. To the average person who doesn't watch YouTube videos, who just reads the newspaper, if that's even still a thing, and just watches, CTV, CBC, CNN, just watches mainstream media, the average person would be like, oh, yeah, Mark Carney. No, he's qualified for the job. But the problem is, it doesn't matter who they bring in. It doesn't matter if they bring in a whole new cabinet. If Trudeau is the head of the Liberal Party, all these F Trudeau protests, all these F Trudeau flags, all these F Trudeau stickers, like this one, Wacko Trudeau, all of these things, they still apply. And that momentum of F Trudeau, get away. You are a piece of garbage. That still applies. So it doesn't matter if he replaces Freeland. It doesn't matter. It matters to her. It matters to the Liberals, but it doesn't matter to the polls because people don't want Trudeau. And so, I mean, if you're talking about replacing somebody, with Mark Carney, if you get rid of Justin Trudeau and you put Mark Carney in his shoes and you keep Freeland there, the Liberals will do tremendously better than if you just replace Freeland with Mark Carney. And it's not me saying I'm an advocate for Mark Carney at all. I think that the entire Liberal Party has been stained, their reputation is stained for the next 10, 15 years, even possibly. But let's take a look at Chrystia Freeland, still beat around the bush to a simple question.
Today is a nice day to be finance minister because I'm saying yes to an amazing project. But if you're finance minister, as my colleagues here know all too well, you have to say no a lot of the time too. That's how we keep our AAA credit rating. And hang on, let me just finish my answer. And so in order to do my job effectively, in order to serve the amazing people who are here today and the people across the country, I do have to feel that I have that confidence. And so what I will say to everyone here, speaking for myself, is I do have the confidence that I need to do my job effectively.
Right. And she has somehow convinced herself, with the surrounding members of her team who prop her up and say, yes, ma'am, yes, Freeland, you are right. Somehow she's convinced herself that she has done a great, if not phenomenal, if not wonderfully phenomenal job. And I'm going to use their words against them because the reality is that it's just not true. You will be more popular after you resign than you have ever been while in office. You, Chrystia Freeland, are part of the reason why Canada is so divided, why Canada is so bankrupt. And never mind this made-up Fugazi AAA credit rating. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what a piece of paper says at the end of the day. What matters is how things are actually going. Everybody knows there's corruption. Everybody knows that AAA credit ratings, AA credit ratings, whatever you want to call them, are a real thing. But that rating system, that ranking system, it doesn't matter when Canada has peak homelessness, peak drug addiction, peak division, peak bankruptcy, or closer to bankruptcy that we have ever seen. So these things don't matter in the way that Chrystia Freeland tries to say that they do. And it's not just me saying that. It's also the mainstream media. Let's take a look at this footage here.
Canada's Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, also the Finance Minister, is one of the highest profile members of Team Trudeau. She routinely travels the country, giving news conferences and trying to hype the government's record, especially nowadays amid very polling numbers. But today, a report from the Globe and Mail that her future could be in doubt, that Trudeau advisors are apparently questioning her abilities as an effective communicator, and the newspaper also saying the relationship between her office and Justin Trudeau's office has become tense, leading to speculation about the possibility of Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor, jumping into politics. Who knows? Let's bring in our national correspondent, Rachel Aiello, who's standing by in Ottawa, following and listening in at the keyholes of different doors. I'm kidding, but bring us up to speed here on what this means here and what it doesn't mean, and this ongoing discussion about Mark Carney being this savior to come in and help save the Liberal Party from political oblivion.
Yeah, lots of really interesting big names being thrown around today by the Prime Minister, hitting right on this speculation that we've been covering for months about both the state of the Liberal Party under Justin Trudeau, potential successors to him, Mark Carney, clearly Todd, being one of the names that keeps getting bandied about. He keeps throwing cold water on it. So today, kind of to bring viewers back to how we got here, there has been pressure on the Prime Minister since that ill-fated by-election late last month to do something to shake things up, turn their fortunes around. And if he's going to stay as Prime Minister, the speculation, Todd, has shifted to what he needs to do within his inner circle, within his front bench of cabinet ministers, to try to show worried Liberals that they can turn things around. So this has prompted some reporting, including from our colleagues at the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star, that Chrystia Freeland's position as finance minister could be on the table, suggesting there that he could be looking to bring in Mark Carney, that highly talked about potential successor to him, to fill that role. So the Prime Minister was asked about this today. He continues to say, Todd, he has full confidence in Chrystia Freeland and they're going to continue to work together, but did note pretty interestingly that he's been talking to Carney for years.
Yeah, we do have that comment, actually, that Trudeau said at a news conference in Washington today as part of the larger NATO summit when he was asked about this. And let's play that and get a sense of exactly what Trudeau said here.
I have been talking with Mark Carney for years now about getting him to join federal politics. I think he would be an outstanding addition at a time when Canadians need good people to step up in politics.
All right, so what does that mean? And what doesn't it mean? And can you give us a sense of what you think?
So my read on this is twofold, Todd. Clearly, I think it is not necessarily a shocking revelation that the Prime Minister has been talking to Mark Carney, a longtime Liberal, about a role he could play. Now, I think the more political analysis we can impose on this comment, Todd, is what is behind the scenes here. There has been some suggestions that from Liberals that if Mark Carney wants to get into the race and be a serious contender, either to join the Liberal Party in some capacity or potentially as Prime Minister, he has to kind of pay his dues and kind of get in the trenches and do the campaigning and get in there. So potentially coming in to help the government at this time try to sell their economic message, a message they are kind of losing voters on in contrast to the Conservatives, could be a way for him to pay those dues. But there are others that have suggested he should stay as far away from this current Liberal government as possible to kind of improve his chances in the future. If he does want to run, not having being painted with the current Liberal government's brush could be to his advantage.
Well, politics can be ruthless, as we all know, but dumping Chrystia Freeland for Mark Carney would be perhaps particularly ruthless, to say nothing of the fact that the Conservatives are probably already preparing attack ads about how Mark Carney is an elitist and a globalist, and he ran the Bank of England, and he's totally out of touch with average Canadians. I can almost imagine it right now.
As if Chrystia Freeland doesn't, those things other than the Bank of Canada and Bank of England comments, as if those don't apply to her. Look, Chrystia Freeland is she's gonna be fine. And when she's inevitably let go of the Liberal Party, she's got ties with the World Economic Forum. There was all that talk about Klaus Schwab, earlier this year, being sick and not well, and he's going to step down in 2025, right? She's going to go work for the World Economic Forum full time, and she's going to be fine. The Liberal Party is failing on all fronts. And you saw Trudeau's face when he was talking about Mark Carney. His face lit up in a way that you haven't seen in years when he's talked about a member or a potential member of his own cabinet. And there needs to be a change. Not just me saying that, not just other YouTubers saying that, the mainstream media is saying that, and even the Liberal Party has acknowledged that. I mean, you've had Liberal MPs that have said, look, something needs to happen. Trudeau needs to resign, or something needs to happen at the tippity top. And we know that Trudeau that's the least likely move for him to resign. Out of all the possibilities, Trudeau is so egotistical and he's so narcissistic that it is just so unlikely for him to resign. As much as I would like to see it, it's a double-edged sword because we want him out. We want him out of power. We want him to step down. We want the election to happen sooner than later. But unfortunately, I just don't know if that is going to happen. And it'd be very controversial what that would look like afterwards. But nonetheless, it really feels like it's coming to an end for Chrystia Freeland sooner than later. And again, historically speaking, last year, right around this time, is when the Liberal government did their cabinet shuffle. So it's kind of setting the precedent for it's going to happen soon if it does happen. But I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think Freeland is on her way out, or do you think that nothing will happen at the tippity top? Let me know what you guys think. That's where we're going to end this video, ladies and gentlemen. On your way out, I would like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.